This video contains spoilers for Pikmin 4. If you don't want some major plot details spoiled for you, save this video to watch later.
So in the meantime, just so your click doesn't go unrewarded, here's a joke for you.
Oh, what, Glorman, come on.
Oh, Saw.
Yes, Glorman?
Did you know the reason Pikmin 4 has a dog is because Captain Olimar is allergic to cats?
Is that so?
Yes, but not because of their hair, mind you. Just the dander-y. Brother, here comes the rotten produce.
Uh-oh. Those aren't tomatoes, Glorm.
What?
Full spoilers from here on out. At time of writing the script, it's been exactly 1 week since Pikmin 4 launched. I've done everything there is to do in it, even platinuming all the Sage Leaf trials. And just for the record, I love this game more than I love most human beings I've met in my life. It's my second favorite Switch game just after ARMS, easily. It may very well be my favorite Pikmin game too. Still, there are a few things I wish were different about it. Being able to toggle off auto-lock for one. But today's video is going to focus on just one of those things, which is sort of a big thing that affects a lot of other things. So, this game is a soft reboot of the entire Pikmin franchise. Everything's the same, but none of the previous games are canon. Olimar's trip to PNF 404 and encounters with the Pikmin in this game are framed as having happened for the first time. The events of Pikmin 2 are referenced as a nightmare Olimar once had, and Kopite's food crisis is referenced as something projected to happen, implying Pikmin 3 hasn't happened yet. This isn't the biggest deal in the world, and really nothing new for Nintendo, particularly in franchises Miyamoto's produced. Continuity is treated like a hindrance for some reason, but that's a video for another day. The reason I bring this up is because, despite being a retcon, Pikmin 4 retains nearly everything from the previous games fans care about. Every Pikmin type, Olimar's family and endearing personality, Louie, his Nana, his appetite, and his general social ineptitude, the president, the Kopites, a lot of Piklopedia logs to the letter, and all but 36 of the series' enemies. But this is where the topic of today's video comes into play. Because among the 36 previous series enemies that did make their way into Pikmin 4, is Pikmin 3's final boss, the Plasm Wraith. The Plasm Wraith is a mysterious, unknowable being, much like Pikmin 1's Gulix and Pikmin 2's Water Wraith, that has the ability to emit any elemental hazard, shapeshift into any PNF 404 enemy, and whose default form is that of a gold glimmering goo. It's first encountered in the final area of Pikmin 3, the Formidable Oak, where it holds Olimar captive, seemingly infatuated with him. The Kopites make an attempt to rescue him, all the while being pursued and subsequently confronted by the beast. They eventually defeat it and escape with Olimar in tow, and as they fly off, the Plasm Wraith can be seen despairing Olimar's escape. An epilogue to the game then goes on to imply that the Wraith may have been responsible for causing the many crash landings on PNF 404. Pikmin fans formed a theory around the Plasm Wraith, speculating that it's meant to take on the traits of a monster in Japanese folklore, the Umibozu, which causes ships to crash in the ocean so as to commandeer the treasure. And should a sailor escape an Umibozu attack, they'll be forevermore pursued by the beast until it gets what it wants. Considering Pikmin 4's story trailer comically draws attention to the fact that Olimar crashes, seemingly for the 4th time, 5th if the Wraiths exist on the Hey Pikmin planet, oh my gosh, that take took forever, and the Rescue Corps also crash when they come to get him, Pikmin fans assumed that the Umibozu theory held water. No pun intended. Bruh. Tangentially, the Pikmin website would detail that in Pikmin 4, Olimar had been stranded on PNF 404 for a month, which some fans took to mean we might see a bad-ending Pikminized Olimar as in Pikmin 1, wherein if Olimar doesn't repair his ship after 30 days, i.e. a month, his life support system expires, and the Pikmin carry his body to the Onion and resurrect him as a Pikmin seedling. A few weeks later, in a Nintendo Direct, a new Pikmin 4 trailer introduced Leafling Olimar, which some fans, myself included, immediately assumed confirmed this theory. Oliman! But after digesting that information for a few days in the week leading up to the Pikmin 4 demo, I devised a theory that Leafling Olimar was not a zombified Olimar resurrected as a Pikmin, but rather a clone Olimar, or even mind-controlled Olimar, under the influence of a new form of Plasm Wraith. Seeing as how so much of this game was themed around dogs, what with the debut of Ochi, Olimar's strange dog companion here, who some thought was a retcon Bulby, and the Rescue Corps leaders' names all deriving from dog breeds, I thought we might see a sort of dog wraith, with red shaggy fur resembling Olimar as we saw him in that trailer. The reason the Wraith would take on this form, I theorized, would be so that it could gain control over the Pikmin, who were ultimately responsible for Olimar's escape in Pikmin 3. After all, if you can't beat him, join him. When the demo rolled around though, it seemed to confirm the previous games had been retconned, and that left the question as to whether or not the Umibozo theory would be vindicated or even if the Plasm Wraith in general would return. But that was the least of my worries at the time, as Olimar's dog here wasn't even Bulby. And considering how bland Hey Pikmin was story-wise and Miyamoto-led franchise's propensity for getting gradually watered down, I was worried his whole family and entire middle-aged dad personality would get axed. Thankfully, Olimar's lore remains completely intact, as has almost everything else relative to the series. Aside from, at least for now, the Plasm Wraith. Interestingly, I was half right about the final boss being a dog. And just as like a real quick side note, this isn't in my script, when the team first talked about having seen a giant dog, I legitimately thought for half a second that it was going to be an actual, like, realistic Earth dog, just like a normal dog, and like that was gonna be the payoff for the normal looking house. I mean, I'm glad that isn't what happened, but I'm also kinda, that would have been wild, right? You just kill a regular looking dog. Anyway. I was half right about the final boss being a dog, and its ability to conjure a variety of different elemental attacks is very Plasm Wraith-like. But sadly, nothing about the Sire Hound's Piclopedia entries imply it has any connection to the Wraiths or even the crash landings. And its role in the story is solely to provide cells necessary to cure Ochi of an oxygen-borne Pikmin disease. If you ask me, this is Pikmin 4's biggest fumble in the story department. But hey, while I'm far from a fan of Nintendo's continuity aversion, at least Pikmin 4 has a new story at all, unlike Star Fox Zero or any of the new Super Mario Bros. Games. And as far as Pikmin stories go, this does the job well and introduces a bunch of new things in tandem with resurrecting old things that all combine to make a game unquestionably more content-rich than any previous game in the series. That said, did it need to retcon the events of the previous games? No! In fact, I can't think of a single reason why it's needed at all, quite frankly. One could argue it'd be weird for Moss the space dog and the new Pikmin types to suddenly exist when they weren't in any previous games. But to that I say, the Earth is huge and the characters are super small. They could continue making Pikmin games every year for like 100 years and not run out of approximate real-world locations to set them in, or brand new creatures with which to populate them. One could also argue it's because this game is attracting new players, and the team don't want to scare them off with too much prior story. But to that I say, not only is that a poor excuse on its face, but
they literally released Pikmin 1 and 2 on Switch a month prior, and Pikmin 3 Deluxe has been on Switch for 3 years before this.
the game has a 4 in the title, for Pete's sake. Why wouldn't newcomers assume there have been prior events in the previous games? It just makes no sense. One could also argue it's a bit far-fetched for Olimar to return to this planet again after getting stranded there twice. 3 times if the Hey Pikmin planet is actually supposed to be PNF 404 and something went screwy with translation. But to that I say,
Pikmin 3 all but confirms the Plasm Wraith was responsible for all the crash landings, and the Umibozo theory would suggest Olimar in particular is a target buyer for it.
The beautiful thing about this theory and other theories for other Nintendo series with similarly fleshed out but under-examined worlds is that we never expect them to be outright confirmed, as the focus of the games themselves will always be on immediate stakes and gameplay motivation. So our investment in the game's worlds can perpetuate in tandem with the ongoing intrigue. Some people at Nintendo clearly get this, but every now and then other people at Nintendo seem to almost intentionally get in the way of it. But I should stop myself before I blow my load on what should really be a separate video. Either way, I should quickly bring up that it's possible Pikmin 4 isn't supposed to be a retcon, and the translation just frames things oddly. After all, the only major things to have seemingly been retconned are Olimar's actual trips to PNF 404, and possibly Alf Brittany's and Charlie's as well. It could very well be the case that Pikmin 4 takes place somewhere in a timeline of events all the games totally adhere to, but I think Zelda fans will probably attest to this take being a bit cope. But whether or not Pikmin 4 has retconned the Plasm Wraith out of existence or not is irrelevant to the fact I personally think it was a missed opportunity not to involve it in the plot, considering the very first thing Nintendo told us about this plot is that it's hinged on a continued pattern of coincidences Pikmin 3 very heavily implied were the Plasm Wraith's doing. But hey, Just because Pikmin 4 swung and missed on this front, doesn't mean Pikmin 5 won't. There's actually some pretty compelling evidence in the Piklopedia that implies the Pikmin themselves may have a hand in the crash landing conspiracy, in so much as they seem to need a leader like Olimar in order to propagate. And the concept of the Wraith is still canon to the series as far as 4 is concerned, as they brought back the Water Wraith, and introduced a new form of Gulix called the Fulix. Maybe the Pikmin and the Wraiths have a sort of yin-yang Ouroboros relationship. A futile struggle over an eternal cycle of bringing outsiders into their world and sending them off again. The Pikmin wishing the outsiders could stay so their species can thrive, the Wraiths simply wishing to hoard the outsiders as treasure, but ultimately being foiled by the Pikmin who wouldn't be able to stop them without outsiders in the first place. But that's just a theory. Again! But what's your take on this whole ordeal? Do you want to see the Plasm Wraith return in Pikmin 5? Were you disappointed by its absence in Pikmin 4? Is there any one thing about Pikmin 4 you wish was different? If you've got any thoughts, leave them in the comments. Oh, and like and subscribe if you haven't already, please. Now, if you'll excuse me, all this Pikmin 4 talk has me itching to start a new playthrough.
Not so fast, felt having one.
Hey, my game, Glorman!
If you wish to play your precious Pikmin 4, you'll first have to face me in a Dandori battle.
So, like, you want to play the multiplayer?
Please?
Okay. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you as always to my Patreon patrons whose support keeps this show running. If you'd like to join them in supporting the show, as well as getting perks like, you know, your credit at the end of videos here, early access to videos, and behind-the-scenes stuff on my Patreon page, you can of course pledge as little as $1 a month to patreon.com/atalkingsock. I gotta tell you, I feel really good about this video. It went from not existing at all to being out in or at least being done in 2 weeks. That's like a new record for me, or at least, you know, I don't think I've been able to get videos like these done this quickly since the pandemic was a thing. Who knows whether or not I'll be able to keep this up, though. I've got, you know, not 1 but 2 jobs coming up really quick, new jobs into the mix of my personal life, so YouTube may not, but it may. I've got videos in production, a preview of one you can actually see on my Patreon page right now if you subscribe, you know, if that didn't, yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is, stay tuned for more. Please have patience with me if they don't come out as quickly as this video did compared to the last video I uploaded, I guess. I don't know. See you next time I see you. That's your send-off. Just say that next time. Sheesh.